And here we go. Yet another day of the Atlanta Falcons OTA session is officially in the books. And today was another very interesting day. Now, obviously, we're still without pads or, too much contact. But things are getting done here in Atlanta and looking really, really good for them going forward, especially on the offensive side of the football. Gaining chemistry between Kirk Cousins, Kyle Pitts, and Drake London. Bijan Robinson is out. And it will be out for, I believe, the next couple of weeks and months as we lead into training camp here because of an ankle injury, but he looks to be fine. He looks like he will be full go for training camp, so keep that in mind as well. And with that opportunity, we'll get to see a lot more of Avery Williams and Chase McClellan. Those guys are going to get a lot of extra work here as long as Bijan Robinson is rehabbing that injury. Now, in this video, we're going to break down everything you need to know about the first couple of days here in Atlanta for OTAs. Now, before we jump into the video, though, do me a favor and comment down below who do you think out of this rookie class will make the biggest impact day one. But also, do me a big favor before we jump into the video. Hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, join the family, turn on post notifications. That way you're notified every time we post one of these Falcons videos. We will be covering Atlanta throughout the entirety of not only OTAs, but mandatory minicamp, training camp, preseason, regular season. We've got it all covered for you guys. So make sure you guys join the family. But with that being said, let's get into the video. Now, one of the biggest things that we've noticed so far with this offense here is just the chemistry between Kirk Cousins and Kyle Pitts, man. These two guys are locked and loaded together. I don't know what it is, but Kirk Cousins does really good with tight ends over the past couple of years. We've seen it, and I think it's going to contribute here over in Atlanta as well. We've also seen Drake London and Darnell Mooney get really involved here with Kirk Cousins as well. So I'm definitely excited to see how those two wide receivers take a jump up, especially Darnell Mooney coming from Chicago, where he wasn't highly productive, but at the same time was a couple of bad throws away from being a really good wide receiver in terms of the stats that he put up. I mean, his first couple of years, I can't even count on my hands how many times he was overthrown, which is kind of crazy. Kirk Cousins is not that type of quarterback. He will make sure to hit him in stride. So I'm definitely excited to see him stretch the field and get behind the defense and keep safeties honest at the same time. Now, obviously, the biggest concern about this Falcons team in OTAs and going into the rest of the summer is probably the edge position. Now, you talk about a guy like Calais Campbell, who is still a free agent, but they have a big question mark there. You have a guy like Zach Harrison. You have Brandon Dorlus, who I actually do like. When you look at Brandon Dorlus overall, you see a guy who is physical, very heavy-handed. He's a good defender who has saw a pretty good production, and obviously he's been continuing to get better and better as the years go by, but just a natural edge defender who can play standing or with the hand down as well. I think he's a guy that can be really, really good for the Falcons with some of the right development and mentorship. And you got guys like, Grady Jarrett and guys like Arnold Ebiketie and, Lorenzo Carter, guys who can maybe help him a little bit, but they're fairly young in that aspect, right? So the biggest thing I'm looking at going forward, you also have Eddie Goldman as well, but I really want to see how these edge rushers perform, especially early on in the season, and who's going to win the job. Do you guys think it's a Zach Harrison? Do you think it's a Brandon Dorlus? Because right now, that is probably the biggest position to watch out for as we head into the rest of camp, right? Now, another position of interest to me is I feel like the cornerback position. Now, don't get me wrong. I like the starters. AJ Terrell is probably, more locked in now than he has ever been. And then you have guys like Clark Phillips, who broke out last season during OTA's minicamp and training camp, the 4th round pick of last season. He's going to be a dog. We know that right away. But behind those guys is when I get a little bit worried. Not worried, but just I want to see who's going to step up. Is it going to be a Kevin King? Is it going to be a Mike Hughes and Antonio Hamilton, right? So that's another position group that I'm really focusing in on here over the next few weeks as we lead into minicamp and training camp. And then you look at the right tackle position with Caleb McGarry. They do like Caleb McGarry, but other than the right tackle position, it's just, I feel like their O-line's really good, really set up. We'll see if, what happens in terms of that position, right? You have a far less mobile quarterback losing Desmond Ridder, losing Marcus Mariota. Now Kirk Cousins, who's not really going to run too much. If Caleb McGarry struggles, it's going to be a big concern, right? Especially since Kirk Cousins is coming off an injury. And then you do have Michael Penix, who can get outside the pocket. We saw with his 40-yard dash. But I'm curious to see how McGarry does. I think he's got a lot of potential. And I think he needs to really get consistent. And I think they'll be fine. But other than that, I think this team is really headed in the right direction. Another guy I really like, and he's been playing good so far, Braylon Trice, man. Braylon Trice looks good. And again, no pads, no contact. But this is a guy who's been a captain for a long time. He's got good size, very well liked by his teammates and coaching staffs ever since he was playing in high school, college, whatever it was. The man has a good motor, good size, and can take big time shots as well. So I do like Braylon Trice and Brandon Dorlus. Those guys are two guys they added along the defense who I think could be really good players with certain development. We'll see how they do over the next few weeks here, and as we continue to get into Falcons minicamp and whatnot, and we get to see more out of Kirk Cousins and some of these guys on the offense, that's when things will get a little bit more exciting. But for now, we don't really have too much to talk about. Kirk Cousins in 7-on-7s was really targeting Kyle Pitts a ton. It seemed like those guys were really building connection already. And again, once you get these passes on, we'll know a lot more. But for now,